How's it going, everyone? Eastside Anime Outlet, and this is part 1 of What If Deku Had Bond's powers. And now, before we begin, I would just like to ask you all to please put your what if suggestions down in the comments section below. And now, let's begin. Take that, you stupid Deku! A kid yells, kicking 5-year-old Zuko down into a muddy puddle. As all of his clothes become drenched in the muddy water, Zuko stands up, now soaked in this wet, disgusting water. For his body, he would stare up at the kid, now with tears slowly flowing down his open, wide eyes. The kid would only stare at Zuko before spitting at his feet before walking away. Maybe now you'll think before acting against me. Just remember, you're a quirkless little kid. You're not gonna be able to do anything to me, middle schooler would say, walking off after just kicking Izuku. As Izuku would be staring at this kid walk away into the distance, he would then look down at his hands. Was all that kid's words true? Was he really just a worthless Deku? That's not right, can it? Izuku hadn't gone to any type of preschool at all, since his parents had mostly just taught him at home, homeschooling him up until the age of 6, where they would then put him into school since Hisashi, Izuku's father, had to go and work abroad, and Inko couldn't just be able to watch him at home while also having to work a job, so she would put him into school instead of homeschooling him like normal. As now see Izuku walking into school, where he would then sit down in class, as we now see a teacher walk into the room. Good morning, class. Today, I'm proud to announce we have a new student joining us today. Please stand up, Izuku. So, class, this is Izuku Midoriya. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, Izuku? Hi, I'm Izuku. I like All Might, Izuku would say. His embarrassed face would then turn into one of excitement and enjoyment after muttering the words of All Might. Many of the other students would jump up in their seats with the mention of All Might, exclaiming that they like All Might too. Izuku's eyes would then shine before he would start mumbling all about these different All Might facts he had learned from watching some All Might cartoon program he had seen the night before. As Izuku would then go and sit down, the day would then go just as normal. However, once it was recess time, Izuku would be playing in the sandbox, as we now see a couple kids walk up to him. Hey, Izuku, what's your quirk? Bakugo's quirk here's an explosion quirk. Do you think you have a quirk even cooler than that? Izuku would sadly shake his head with a look of sorrow on his face. Oh, I don't have a quirk, Izuku would say in a soft, mellow voice, as all the kids standing around him would only just stare at Izuku before they would all erupt into laughter. You're just quirkless? Really? You're useless then. You're not even gonna be able to get a job at McDonald's. I can't believe it. Can't believe we have things so useless looking up to All Might. Izuku would stare on in shock at all of the kids around him as their laughing faces and cries of their laughter would echo throughout Izuku's brain. He would clench his head as tears would start falling out of his eyes, as he would start to get flashbacks of the day he had been kicked down by that awful middle schooler. Izuku, with tears in his eyes, would look over towards the recess monitor, pleading for help. However, she would only bat blind eye towards him after hearing he had been quirkless, as a quirkless person didn't belong in this world. At least, that's what everyone thought. They were treated like dirt, like a piece of garbage. As Izuku, this sudden realization would come with the snap of a finger after telling everyone that he was quirkless. Izuku could only shake his head before standing up, hiding his eyes in the shadow of his hair, as he would look around at all of them, before he would walk, punching someone as they would fall down to the ground. Izuku would look at them, telling them to get out of his way, as he would then rush off, as the teacher would go, grabbing down at the student. Bakugo, are you okay? She would exclaim, seeing Izuku run away. Izuku, get back here, she would yell. However, Izuku didn't listen, only running away into the forest behind the school. as Izuku would be sitting there crying, rocking himself back and forth, just thinking about what he had done. His mother had always taught him, making sure it was embedded into his mind to be kind and to never hurt a soul. However, Izuku had just not cared about that rule she had set in place from just the beginning of Izuku's life, punching Bakugo Katsuki, who Izuku had even known that his mother, Mitsuki Bakugo, was even a very close friend to Inko. As Izuku would end up being found by a couple of pro heroes having to look for him, as if Izuku was a bit older and they would have known he was quirkless, most likely they just would have not cared about him. However, if it was a kid of Bakugo's stature with something so powerful like an explosion quirk, they would have been out there with tons of pro heroes looking for the boy, even posting up missing posters. However, this didn't happen to Izuku. Only 2 rejects of heroes, not even in the top 200, would end up looking for him, feeling sympathy for the small, quirkless child. As we all see Izuku sitting in a chair at home as his mother cries after getting a phone call of Mitsuki Bakugo telling her that her son had hit her own. As be crying before looking at Izuku before telling him to go upstairs. She couldn't believe that her own child was a monster. First he's quirkless, then he can't become a hero, his only dream in life, and now he hit a child? She had taught him not to act out like this, however he completely disobeyed her orders. We now cut forward 2 years as we see Izuku sitting upstairs in his room, staring down at a book about anatomy, just studying it closely. As with no friends, since he was quirkless, he couldn't go out and play, and so the basically only thing he had was watching just heroes save people and books, and so he would end up finding himself inside a lot, reading books, and this is when he would end up stumbling upon a cooking book, where Izuku would end up closely reading each and every detail about it, studying it closely, even asking his mother if he can cook too, learning how from a very young age. As we now see that it is Izuku's birthday, as he would be walking down the stairs, and would then with him at the table, serving him some eggs and bacon, as she would then ask him what he wants to do on his own birthday. "Oh, can we go to the library? I want to buy a cooking book. Yeah, I want to learn more about it," Izuku would say. Inko would think for a moment before nodding her head. "Okay, just finish your breakfast first and then we'll get going." "That'll give me some time to get ready," Inko would say, going upstairs to go get changed into some clothes she could wear outside, as she was still in some pajamas from the night before. We see Izuku standing all dressed up with his shoes and everything, hopping up and down just as he couldn't wait. He was so excited to get his own cooking book. Sure, some of the cooking books he had read he had got from the library, however now he would finally have his own, something that he could finally study and read for himself, without having to return it just a week after getting it. So as Inko would end up getting Izuku, opening up the front door, Izuku would then walk out along with Inko as she would shut it before locking it. As they would then walk down into the car, Inko would put Izuku into his car seat before hopping into the driver's seat, as they would then pull out of the apartment complex and they would then drive off towards the local bookstore. As Inko would be driving, she would look back at Izuku before asking him, "So, Izuku, have you figured out what you wanted to buy before? Or have you figured out what you wanted to buy yet?" she would ask. However, Izuku would only shake his head. "No, I don't really have anything in mind just yet. I really hope just to see anything that catches my eye," Izuku would say. He was quite the smart and bright 8-year-old, having only just time to read books, so he would just grow a habit of getting smarter and smarter by reading tons of these textbooks, even sometimes stumbling upon his father's study where he would have tons of college textbooks for Izuku to read. All of the sudden, however, Izuku would stare on through the windshield as it would be turning around, talking to him. As Izuku would then say, "Mom, watch out!" However, it was too late. A villain's foot had stomped right in the middle of the road as Inko would swerve her car, causing it to tip for halfway, slamming into a building before it would end up flipping over multiple times, slamming into the back hood of the villain. As the car would lay resting down, completely just shattered in pieces, Zuko would be upside down, dangling in his own car seat, completely just unaware of what happened. However, Zuko would end up opening his eyes as the sun figure would be standing right in front of him. Man, this is sad, the figure would say. Zuko's eyes would open after an intense ringing would be going all throughout Zuko's ears. What? Who are you? Zuko would mutter as the person would look down at him. Oh, I'm Bon. Anyway, look, kid. I've seen your life play out before my eyes, and I'd have to say, it's not pretty. And plus, you're one of the kindest people I've ever seen. And I just can't have all your kindness go to waste, now can I? Plus, with all of the events today, especially on your birthday, I'll let you figure that out for yourself, but I just want to give you a little gift. Think of it as me just as a gift and reward for all of the kindness you've shown, even after countless years of bullying. The person would say before handing Zuko just a glowing orb of light. Zuko would look at it before reaching out, grabbing it, as if on instinct. As he would end up grabbing it, all of a sudden he would wake up once again in his car seat. As he would end up clicking the button, allowing him to be released, now standing on the ceiling or the roof of his car. As he would end up going through one of the shattered windows, crawling through it, he would end up seeing the mangled, torn-up body of his own mother 15 feet in front of him. As Zuko would see this staring on, he couldn't believe it. There, his own mother. Why? This just didn't make any sense. Zuko seeing this, all of a sudden a hero out of nowhere would come down before looking on at the scene. Oh my, I'm so sorry. Someone get some people here to take care of this kid. I'm so sorry you had to see this, the hero would say towards Zuko. However, Zuko could only shake his head, completely speechless. Why him? Why was all of this happening to him? He still didn't understand his dream, but it just didn't make any sense. Zuko would end up rushing away from the hero, not wanting to just go into the system. He had read plenty of books about adoption and things, just something an 8-year-old shouldn't have known about. And so he knew if someone was orphaned, then most likely they'd go into an adoption system. And without anyone to contact his father, Hisashi, he was most likely going to be adopted or fostered, and he just couldn't care enough for that. He didn't want that to happen. His one and only parent was his mother, well, besides his father, of course. However, he really wasn't there in his life. As we see Zuko rushing back, he would end up wiggling on the doorknob of his house, finding that Inko hadn't locked it properly, as the door would then fly open. Zuko would end up rushing into the house, grabbing a bunch of books that he could carry before running into the forest. Zuko, just completely acting on impulse, would rush into the forest, placing down his books, before just having a feeling of creating a hut. That's all he really could do, creating a hut out of straw and leaves that he could find, foraging from different assortments of items. As we now cut forward just around 6 to 7 years, Zuko is now 15 years old. As he would be walking down the street, he had basically gotten a reputation for stealing, as that's pretty much all he could do. He was too young to get a job for himself, and too young to get arrested, only having to go off of getting warnings, so he could basically steal all he wanted. So he'd be stealing his food, however he would most times get captured, unless he was lucky and somehow managed to get away. This slowly would end up training Izuku's body to get faster and faster, having to run away from the cops, with just being able to get more strength from being beaten up every single time. Sure, with the powers of Bon's immortality, Izuku couldn't be killed or get hurt fully. However, this would still teach Izuku how to handle pain. And so with all this training, Izuku would end up being stronger and wittier than the average 15-year-old. And so with that, we now see Izuku strolling the streets looking for a target. As he was in a presumably bad neighborhood of Hosu City, and he knew that people around here was just looking for someone who was most likely lost and was most likely rich, as the downtown area where all of the movie theaters and casinos was just around the corner. So he was looking for someone that would be an easy target that he could easily just snatch all of their items and run quickly. However, all of a sudden, Izuku would start to hear rumbling from a alleyway right in front of him. As Izuku would continue walking, he would look to his side before seeing an entire dumpster start shaking. As Izuku would then walk over towards the dumpster, as he would then kick it. All of a sudden, a blonde-haired girl would poke her head out of the dumpster. "What kind of sewer rat are you?" Izuku would say, looking her up and down. "Why are you calling me a sewer rat? I'm just in a dumpster." Izuku would only sigh before looking at her. "So, do you mind explaining why you're in this dumpster?" "Oh, it's nothing. My parents, they just abandoned me because of my villainous quirk. I attacked someone at school, and I just finally had enough." "Oh, well, I guess that's enough of that topic," Izuku would say after seeing the girl look like she was about to have some sort of panic attack. As Izuku would say that, he would then walk towards her, giving out a hand. She would then grab it as Izuku would pull her out of the dumpster. "Well, I'm Izuku. I don't really have a last name since my mom is dead. Oh, and I'm Toga," she would say, not giving her last name as well. "Okay, that's fine," Izuku would say before walking off. She would then rush up to Izuku. "Wait, where are you going?" "I mean, I'm just walking back to my house." "No, why do you care?" Izuku would ask, blatantly on towards the stranger. "Oh, I don't really have a place to stay, it's quite a lot." I get you, Izuku would say, interrupting. "If you want, you can crash at my place," Izuku would say once again, as Toga's eyes would then light up. "Wait, really?" she would say, jumping into Izuku's arms, hugging him tightly. "Oh, thank you," she would continue saying. Izuku would then grab her by both of her shoulders, picking her up before placing her back onto the ground. "We just met not even a minute ago. That's a bit much, Not saying I didn't like the hug at all, but let's save it for another time, not when we're in the middle of this area," Izuku would say. Toga would nod her head as Izuku would then lead her back into the forest. "So, your house is in the forest, huh? Please don't tell me you're just leading me out here to do something to me." "Oh, nothing like that at all. Besides, why would I do that? That's just not right, you see," Izuku would say, as he would then pull up to his just hut that he had for 7 years now. "Well, here it is, home sweet home. I can't say it's the most lavish place in the world, but it certainly is cozy," Izuku would say with a campfire still burning. "Wait, this is your house?" "Yup, it's a lovely one-bedroom studio apartment with no bathroom. So, as you can tell, it's pretty roomy," Izuku would say as Koga would only look at it. "But where am I gonna sleep?" Izuku would hop down into the just patches of leaves he'd created as his quote-unquote bed. "Well, the only place is right here next to me, so that's basically if you want any place to sleep under cover from the rain, that's what you got," Izuku would say. "But not even 10 minutes ago you just had to stop with the hugging." "Well, remember, like I said, I didn't say I didn't like it, but it's really up to you if you want to stay here. I'm not forcing you at all," Izuku would say with a sly grin on his face. Toga would only stare down at the person before laughing, or hopping down next to him. "So is this really all you do?" "Well, I mostly just sit here reading some of those books. However, they've pretty much deteriorated since I don't have a proper place to store them out of the rain. So I've basically just devoted either stealing some books and just stealing food. I don't really have the money to pay for it, so That's all I got right now, Zuko would say, smiling, as would laugh once again as just how much she likes Zuko would grow even more. So, what do you plan on being, Toga? Oh, I don't know yet. I really don't have any direction right now. Well, I guess we're one of the same then, huh? I wanted to be a hero years ago, but now I really don't have any reason to. Plus, I don't even know what UA is anymore. Plus, I haven't been in school at all for the past 7 years. Thanks, Mom, Zuko would mutter under his breath. So, I really can't join UA High School, which was my only plan from at the age of 4. So, right now, I'd say both of us are pretty much on the same plate. So, yeah, Zuko would say. Toga would nod her head as Zuko then stand up. Well, I'm gonna go on some errands, you know. So, what do you want from the store? From the store? I thought you just said you had no money. Exactly. I don't. Toga would then just get a sudden realization. Oh, okay. Can you get me a rotisserie chicken by any chance? Toga would say. Zuko would nod his head. Alright, I got you. Before walking off, Zuko would then go to the store, getting a chicken as he and just go back and drop it off with Toga before going off to go explore once again. As, of course, Zuko had some people chasing him, however, they really couldn't care less for like a $10 chicken. So, as Zuko would be walking, all of a sudden, he would end up seeing tons of people just gathering in one place. As Zuko would look up, he would see these massive arches, as Zuko would end up being pushed in to the place as well. Huh, this place looks cool. Maybe I'll crash here for a little bit, Zuko would say. I mean, it does look pretty expansive. Hopefully no one finds me for a little while, Zuko would say before you would end up being pushed into a hallway. Well, I guess I'm here now, not having enough time to look around and see all the scenery, what it was. Zuko would end up hearing a bunch of people end up talking about some sort of test before he would end up hearing over the intercom system saying, "Alright, examinees! Now, for this test, all you have to do is just destroy as many robots as possible. And so, the test will begin in 3, 2, 1. Right as the test begins, Zuko looks around at all of the examinees surrounding him. It seems like there's barely any examinees here. What kind of test is this? Well, as it gives him a good fight, who cares? Zuko would think to himself before jumping off. However, he would end up seeing girls just create stuff out of nowhere, as he would end up running up to her, looking at her in excitement. Yo, wait, do you have some sort of creation quirk? That's awesome. Real quick, do you mind, creating me some sort of weapon type thing? It's a 4-poled weapon with chains connecting each pole together. It would be a really big help, you know, Zuko would say quickly, as she'd be like, okay? The black-haired girl would say, as Zuko would then smile, sparkles in his eyes. Oh, thank you, he would say in excitement, as she would then hand him the weapon. Alright, this is gonna be fun, Zuko would say, as he would end up now using this weapon before using his ability Snatch to snatch the head of a 3-pointer right off of its body, before he would start swinging his weapon round and around, sort of like a massive mace, hitting tons of robots all in one, as he would destroy these tons of robots, getting 40 points in one go, as this would catch the eye of some of the teachers watching. Yo, Nezu, who happens to be that kid? I didn't see him in the written exam portion of the select examinees. Oh, you didn't? That's quite strange. So you didn't see him. I mean, maybe you missed him. Nezu, how was I supposed to miss him? There was only like 8 people that were actually there. Well, it's too late to take him out now. Let's just watch what his abilities are. I mean, he already shows quite improvement and quite the knowledgeable ability with his powers. It's quite good. It is quite good, Nezu would say to himself, as Aizawa would only look at him, seeing Nezu as if he was plotting something in his own mind. Aizawa would only sigh before just letting Nezu have his train of thought. As we now see Izuku destroying tons of all of these just robots, even sometimes with his own hands if he really wanted to, as Izuku ended up smiling to himself, thinking that he never had this much fun in years, just punching all of these robots easily. As Izuku all of the sudden, however, would end up looking up to see a massive zero-pointer looking down on him, as Izuku would then crack his knuckles before cracking his neck as well. Welp, here goes nothing, Zuko would say, crouching down before jumping up towards the zero-pointer. As his weapon would then be in hand, he would then launch himself towards the zero-pointer before easily beheading the zero-pointer with his weapon, as the head of the zero-pointer would then end up sliding off of its body, falling down into one of the buildings, slamming down into it as the building would end up collapsing down. Well, that was quite easy, Zuko would think to himself before seeing 3 other zero-pointers all look at him right behind him. Zuko would only jump back, landing on the top of one of the zero-pointers' heads, the one in the middle. As Zuko would end up seeing this, he would end up using his just weapon to end up smashing it down into the zero-pointer's head, as a massive hole would end up created right through the middle of the zero-pointer. As this would happen, the zero-pointer would start to wobble back and forth before Zuko would end up jumping off of its head and kicking it from the side, as it would then go right into one of the zero-pointers on its right side. With that, Zuko would then behead the other zero-pointer with ease. After this, however, Zuko would end up landing, as he would then end up hearing that the special exams are now finished and that they may now go home. Zuko, hearing that, was just wondering, wonder what this was. Well, who cares anyways. It was fun while it lasted, he would think, as he would end up walking out, as he would end up running into that black-haired girl once again. Yo, miss, you were the one that helped me earlier, right? Oh, yes. I was. Do you mind telling me what this was? I don't actually know. You're telling me you don't know? This was the special chosen exams for UA. This is how you get into UA high school. Well, we're all guaranteed to get in it, but this just chooses whether we're in Class 1A or Class 1B. Oh, Zuko would say. Thanks for that, I guess. I kind of forgot that knowledge, Zuko would say, rubbing the back of his head, as the person would only just be like, okay, sure, she would think to herself, as we now see Zuko running back towards the hut that he was, as it had started to rain and he was somewhat worried about the girl that he had saved just a couple of hours ago. As Zuko would end up making it back there, she would end up looking at him just with a mad look. You really had to leave me out here in the rain for 3 hours? She would say angrily towards Zuko, getting up, punching him right across the face. Oh, come on, it wasn't that long, was it? Zuko would ask, as she would then point at an alarm clock plugged into a potato. Okay, I guess it was that long. Look, I'm sorry, okay? I just got mixed up in some UA entrance exam. I didn't even know it was the entrance exam, okay? My bad, I'll take the blame on that one, he would say, as the girl would look at Izuku. So you're telling me you somehow got onto the UA campus and took the UA's entrance exam without even knowing? Yup, Izuku would simply say, as the girl would only blatantly look at him. You know what? Sure you did. Alright, fine. We now cut back to UA to see Nezu, Aizawa, and the rest of the teachers all talking with each other, looking over at the footage of Izuku. This kid's techniques and abilities are insane. He far outmatches many of the third years in 3A too. Some of the teachers would say, as Aizawa would nod his head. Yeah, I haven't seen the power like this since the likes of All Might in this school. It's quite crazy how powerful Izuku is. As all of them would be staring on, well, not Izuku, as this kid is, all of them would be staring on at the footage. And yet you're telling me they didn't put in even a sheet? They didn't even get lumped in with the special group of kids, huh? So how are we gonna find this kid? Because there's no chance he's not gonna become a hero with that type of power. We gotta get him here before he ends up becoming a villain even. Yes, that's the only problem. I have absolutely no clue where this person might be. Well, and the only solution must be we gotta give out a search party, right? Yes, that's one way to do it, Nezu would say. Well, then let's begin with the search party. So, it can't be really that hard, can it? Well, we'd have to search the entire likes of the country, so maybe it will be a bit hard. And plus, he'd be living in the forest even, so we don't know if he's living in the city or not. So, why don't we go out and start asking some of the city folk where this person might be? Yep, that sounds good. Let's do that then. So we now see Aizawa walking around with a flyer of Izuku's picture in Hosu City as he would end up walking over towards a shop clerk's store. Hey, sir, I have a question for you. Huh? Yeah, what you need, the shop owner would say. Have you happened to seen this person by any chance? That kid, the shop owner would say, looking increasingly on towards just the missing poster. Oh, that kid! Man, that idiot just happened to steal a rotisserie chicken from me earlier today. And that is where part 1 of What If Deku Had Bon's Powers comes to an end. I hope you all did enjoy it, and if you did, please consider subscribing as it really does help this channel out, and you can even be notified when the other parts of this series do end up coming out. I thank you all for watching once again, and goodbye.